Hello and welcome back to Stalevar. Today it's again my turn to work in the park, and once again I'm joined with Rudi
Hello.
and Silv.
Hey everybody.
So first of all, you see me now modifying the stuff I made last time.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to say I was not really convinced with the board walls. It was something I was struggling with, and it didn't really work as well as it should. So
Yeah, mate, you just put too less detail. Maybe that's.
yeah, well, I think it was too realistic, too modern for the concrete walls. So maybe that's a part of it. And I went in Antwerp to the, well, not especially for this, but I went somewhere in Antwerp and I took the time to check the ports there. And there was like the ports next to the big museum. I don't know that you know it. It's called the Mas.
Oh. Yeah. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. It's the big museum in the bricks and different layers, and yeah, it's really nice building. And around that building there are brick docks walls. So like I'm doing here. So I thought it fits way better than the concrete walls.
Well,
Right.
I must say I love the concrete walls as well, but I have to say these just insanely well designed pieces from the Ghostbusters pack with the way better mortar, they're just fitting so well in here.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh yeah, that's totally true. The new pieces, all of the new textures that we're able to work with is actually really cool. I really didn't expect the DLC to have this many wall pieces, but it's quite a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The mortar, how do you call it? The piece in between the bricks.
Yeah, mortar. Yeah.
Mortar. Yeah. You can recolor it also, so that's really way better than the bricks we had before.
Yeah, honestly, I have to say, I would love if we could have the choice to do that with all the walls we have by now. It's a bit of an unfortunate thing that it's now only with the new walls, but
hoping that Frontier is listening here.
Yeah, Frontier, if you're listening, please. But because I have to say, like, in some cases, it's just so cool to make it like really, really high contrasty, so that you really have this kind of popping to it. It really adds so much to the depth of it. So you basically don't really need to put in too many details to make the wall alone be the detail in itself, because most of the old walls, they kind of look a bit dull if you don't put. So I think it's also the reason why we tend to always put also some poles and some wooden pillars in between, just to give it that little bit of depth, because the mortar most often is very similar to what the wall texture is, because they're just morphing the colors into each other. And so this is why I loved that we have now the choice to make it individually colored. So I really love that.
Yeah, indeed. But the downside is now those new walls only have like the grid pieces and not the columns.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So yeah, but yeah, still it's still better. So
I do have to say some of my favorite pieces in the game are some earlier examples of that, like the adventure walls that are technically just a stucco wall, but you're able to choose two colors, which kind of changes the texture of the wall rather than the color itself. Which is always really interesting.
Yeah, you can really use them as stucco walls or like as concrete walls or brick walls. That's so cool. Yeah, it's super awesome.
Yep. I do have to say, I love the look of the brick textures on the waterfront there. But I wonder kind of if these are the original textures of the waterfront, or if they added the bricks later. I'm really not sure, but what I do remember of that general area is that it's very gentrified, very much developing in recent years. So a lot of it has been renovated in some ways. So it may not really reflect the original look of the harbor, but I'm really just guessworking here. Like, I'm not too sure.
I'm not sure. They are now also reconstructing parts of the bricks there in the
right.
So I think that the broken parts are kind of old, but yeah, I'm not sure how old they are. So
Oh, then it probably makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really great part of the city anyway. Like, I really like it. It's really the new development where a lot of things are happening.
Yeah, I just saw that, and I was just briefly looking into some pictures of the Hamburg harbor here, and I remembered that there's also a lot of brickwork going on. So I feel like in the old part of the harbors, it does make sense to have these kind of brick walls. They're quite exchanging a lot of it with concrete walls as well by now, but yeah, maybe it's similar to what Antwerp is doing, because I think time-wise, both harbors kind of have their parts in history. I think they're pretty comparable. Not in terms of the design, obviously, but in terms of which time they have been, how active and stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, I'm pretty sure brick walls, especially in a setting like that, would be more costly and difficult to manufacture and put in there. Now that we have the ability to just drop down big concrete plates, that's just something that has replaced brick walls in general. I mean, in the world at large, you see less and less original brick walls, and most modern buildings which do have bricks are like prefabricated and not like actual real bricks.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of a dying art. Whatever. We're taking this really off topic. I was just wondering about that. I do like it as a texture. We're talking about a theme park here.
I quite like that, to go off topic that often. I do have to say, but I was so curious to see how you did achieve that building, because you sent us the screenshot of that building you're currently working on in the time lapse. Yes. And man, this is insane. I got so lovely. I know how it looks at the end, or basically kind of, because you sent something through, so I know that it really fits the theme, but it also gives me this lovely Bauhaus vibe to it at the moment, which I can't tell you how much of a lover I am of Bauhaus style. So that's why I really love what you're doing here.
Yeah, I also like Bauhaus. I really like how it all fits together. So I will maybe explain some about this building. It's kind of inspired by heavily inspired by a building in Antwerp. It's the how do you say that in English? It's the Stadschouwburg. It's like the theater in the middle of the city, and it's the entrance is almost exactly the same. And what I will include afterwards is something I just came up with myself. So, and I just like how it looks, the shapes and the blockiness of it, and I think it really fits the theme, as you said.
Yeah, totally. Yep. And I feel like, as always, in the end, foliage will also add so much to it. I mean, not that we will have like huge foliage piles here and there, but just this little bit of detail will definitely get in and make it really look even better and make the whole building itself shine even better. But I have to say, I really love what you do here with like the how's this called in English? The water pipe running down from the roof, like a drainage pipe. Is it called like that?
Yeah, runoff. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
drainage pipe.
Yeah, but I love it. Oh, now, and you're spamming gems now. Welcome back to a pre-glass area.
Yeah.
I
honestly don't really like those glass pieces. They are too transparent, and there's not like any. I just don't like how they look. They're just not enough texture in them. So.
I like that you're using it for like a broken area. I remember when I did this first with a coaster, I didn't really pay attention on how many pieces I used, and at the end of it I was like completely confused why I had like 4,000 pieces, let alone in the station. And seeing you do this now, I definitely know why. But it looks awesome, I have to say.
Yeah, on another project I also did something like this, but with like black basic shapes with small corners. But it's really strange because black corners on the sides of the windows, it doesn't really add up. So I think this will just be way better.
Yeah, it looks totally cool because you still have this glass semi-transparent look to it, and yet it's very open and gives you a brief look into what you're experiencing, expecting in the internal area of that building. So it's super cool.
Yeah, and I first like did the outside of the outer frame, and then I realized I also have to do the inner pillars. And I just made so many inner pillars that I shot myself in the foot basically. But yeah, I think it will work out eventually.
So can I just ask really quickly, because we haven't really gone over this, what is this building and where is it in the park?
Oh yeah, so it's on the other side, adjacent to the port, and it's like the not the entrance building, but like it is like the entrance building of the office part of the factory, like where the scientists are and the desk folks.
Right. So that's why it's so fancy, I suppose.
Yeah. Indeed.
Man, I just love it.
I'm also planning to, well, not in this episode, obviously, but having like a plaza in front of this building with like the gates, like big gates, and then maybe some kind of entrance for the workers, but I'm not sure how that will look or should look.
Yeah, true, but I think it really is, again, you're now really bringing something new into, and this is this kind of broken down building over here, while your first building has been pretty much still intact, you know. This building is really a rundown version of one of the factory. I think this will be, in the end, also, to be completely honest, the biggest challenge, to make this whole thing look really rundown yet still believable as a roller coaster attraction. You know what I mean? Like, it's
because at once you need to make it look run down, but you need to make it look, fabricated rundown and fake rundown. That's always a tricky thing.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the first building that I made, it's indeed not yet weathered, or it's just because it was like the first concept, and the all broken parts will have to be done still. So
yeah, but
so.
But I can already tell that I can already tell that this will look really good. I definitely have to say also that I need to go back over what I've done last time. It might be just a tiny bit too rundown. I really have to look into it again, maybe to reduce a little bit of the foliage in the building itself. So just as Sylv said, it might not look fabricated enough. It's maybe just too much nature already that has taken over the place.
I don't know about that one. I do like it to have a lot of nature. Like, realistically, that's what you get with rundown buildings. And
true. Yeah.
I mean, in a sense, probably in a real life setting, all of those plants would be some kind of fake plants. Anyway, especially in a dark ride setting.
True. Yeah, we can call it that way. Then I can be lazy. That's fine. No, because the cool thing is, I've got so many ideas left now, and the cool thing is, with you guys always coming in and doing stuff, it always gives me again a huge kind of pool of new ideas to work on. And so the good thing is then just going into this rather than going back to what I've done anyway. So yeah. Oh, I was just about to say, it would be so cool if you could cover this up with the paper newspaper stuff we have, and you're just doing it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was just about to say, can we appreciate just how small that door was, and shout out to the great Archer guy for once again being a reference point for what the scale is of this game, because sometimes it's really hard to tell.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it was. I started it out way too small, so I'm glad I remembered to place that Archer. Otherwise, it would have been wrong, and we don't want that.
Can I just repeat? You just said you started too small. I can literally not even remember that I ever started too small in Planko.
Yeah, I was just about to say, since when does it happen that things are too small? Usually everything is oversized.
Yeah, no, indeed. But in this case, it just happened.
Wow.
Not sure why.
Maybe just props to those pieces then in Planko that kind of seem to allow this by now, which I think is a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love those pillars. The color choice of those pillars is also pretty interesting. Did you do this on purpose? Like a little bit, like it has this more or less like I don't want to call it Russian, but it definitely has like this more Eastern European vibe to it.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep him black, but then the red tint the red touch referencing to the Red Army, of course. So.
Oh yeah. Now we're getting there. Of course, like with my tanks and stuff.
Yeah, indeed.
That's some deep hidden lore. Wow.
So let's see how Sylv can next time bring that into the episode talking about supports of a coaster and bring the Red Army into this one. This is up for you as a challenge.
Yeah. I'm just going to have to make them in the shape of a hammer and sickle. We'll get there.
Okay.
Oh, true. Yeah, I was also going to make a sign with the name of the factory, but I didn't really know what the factory itself could be named.
That's a good point.
But then afterwards, I maybe thought about to just write Stalevar, but then in Russian characters.
Oh.
Right.
Oh yeah.
We could also go back into our chat log, because I remember very lengthy conversations about what the name of this coaster should be. And
True.
I think a number of factory names actually came up in there as well.
True. Yeah, we can basically work that in maybe. I think we can figure stuff out, yeah.
And here I'm also making a little side building. Not sure. I just wanted to also have it like the same colors and style as the main building, but then afterwards I just picked the traditional brick walls.
Yeah, so you have some columns to work with.
Yeah, because indeed it's the columns, because I also wanted to have the door like moved inside the building instead of just put on the wall itself.
Yeah. May I just ask which kind of floor patterns you use here? Is this also from the Ghostbusters pack, like
it's
a roof
new
piece?
One. Yeah, it's not sure which one it is, but it's one of the Ghostbusters indeed. Yeah.
Wow, because it looks super cool, like this. This floor pattern looks super like really those real great plazas you have seen in the past. Like I would even say like New York-ish. If I mean it makes sense in terms of Ghostbusters, but it really looks cool because it has this marmor kind of tint to it. Is it even called like that? No, that's German. I forgot the name.
I forgot the name.
Marble, I think.
Marble. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So that's honestly really cool, and I love what you're doing with the door here.
Yeah, it's all Ghostbusters items. So this pillar, no, it's not a pillar, it's like the trim edge corner piece or something like that. I really like to use that now.
Yeah, the stairs are made of that as well, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and also the extra layers of the trim inside of the underneath the part above the door.
I think you can really tell that the statement that Sylv and I brought in the first episode is even more supported now by you building that. So I think you managed to transport all these little bits and pieces of the recreations into your builds now, and this makes you really shine. Like I love how you embedded the door now with this, bringing the door like a little bit back to make it really fit inside the frame and not only on top of it. And it really makes me realize again how much of an improvement it is to really use the space given to put something in between, and not just put it on top of the wall and then just kind of try to work around with artificially placed pillars to create a kind of fake depth, which I used to do quite a bit because I didn't found the right spot to put like open places and just sink the door in, rather than I just made the wall appear a bit thicker, you know what I mean? And I really love how you did this here.
Yeah, I also want to say that you have one of the best understandings of all the different pieces there are in the game. Like, you even now and then use pieces that I don't recognize or really never used in such ways. And I guess that's probably also to do with doing a lot of recreations where you're really forced to go through the catalog of scenery and see what pieces match what you're trying to recreate. But it really comes through here.
Yeah, thanks.
By the way, talking about recreations, I really wonder what's going on. I don't know if you guys have just had a look into the workshop recently, but I was having a little look into it again for my Nepali series and tried to search for some TMT items, and for whatever reason, there is like a spam going on Disney pieces. Like, but really not like Disney pieces in terms of nice to have. It really seems to be a project going on there. I don't know, maybe someone has seen, I could maybe potentially think it might be Shy Guy or so, where this is going on, but it looks like, because there are like a few creators, like 3 or 4 creators that are just constantly uploading various Disney-ish pieces that really seem to be for a specific ride of such a kind. Do you have any info on that? Because I was confused.
I have no idea. I honestly haven't even seen it, because for some reason I never go into the theme makers toolkit items looking for anything in general. I always go for specific items, so
yeah,
I tend to kind of miss what the general items are that people are uploading.
Yeah, it was just basically because I was looking into the recent uploaded ones, because I usually figure then which ones are best and which ones I could take. So yeah, that's the reason why. So I was really interested.
Yeah, I don't even use any toolkit items, so I cannot comment on that.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, I'm
adding the decorations
it's like I don't have any clue how do you call this, but sometimes you have these metal panels that with those.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah. I remember. I think they're just really like architectural style, right? Do they have anything to do with the building itself? Maybe heating or so? I don't know.
No clue. But
I think it's just decoration, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that's what makes me think that the building really isn't per se Bauhaus, but some sort of more classical, not Stalinist style, but somewhere in that direction. Especially in the earlier days of the USSR. I think the buildings were generally still much more decorated. And, here there's so much decoration on this building, so it's not quite as modernist, which personally I kind of like, because unlike you guys, I'm not the biggest fan of Bauhaus-style architecture. I'm such a superficial person. I actually really like decoration on buildings, so I dig that.
No, well, I like both, but I have to admit that Bauhaus is also pretty hard to achieve good. Like, it's not like about putting a building with less detail. It's really about making making the building itself appear to be the detail in itself, if that makes sense. So that's really the thing about Bauhaus. I remember I feel like it was in the very, very, very early 20th century, like 1905 or 6, when there has been like the first bigger world's exhibit or so. There was like in Germany, like there was built specifically for this world exhibition, one house, like one very open, modernist, Bauhaus-styled house. And it's so crazy. If you look into this house nowadays, it looks like a super modern house from, I don't know, today, but it has been built in the very early days, and this is really super interesting.
Right. However, because it was super influential, right? So it's really influenced even current day architecture in many ways.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Now I really love what you're doing here. Okay, this is what we talked about rundown. Oh, this is awesome.
Indeed. Yeah. It's not that much, but I just wanted to have a touch of the rundown parts in here. Wow. So underneath the building here, like some kind of shelter or people surviving here, or just some tramp that live here. I don't know.
That's a good thing. I think abandoned buildings can always be kind of squatted on by people. Wait, maybe I shouldn't get too political in this video. Anyway, I like it.
Okay.
You mean more than having your coaster supports shaped like a hammer and cycle?
That's not a message anywhere. I swear to God, that was just a joke. However, no.
No, that's totally fine. But yeah, I have to just to finish off that point. I agree with you that in general, I also like the more detailed buildings a lot more, because in general, I have to say, looking at buildings that have been made like centuries ago, not like only decades, like centuries ago, and then considering which kind of limitations those people had in terms of building, it's even more impressive what they were able to achieve. So this is why I love them even more.
Right. This is actually a topic which is very dear to my heart, because for some reason, I've always talked and looked many things up on architectural revival, like the idea of bringing back old styles, or, modern versus traditional architecture. And I really like traditional architecture, but I think some of the things to keep in mind is also that, survivor bias. Really only the best examples still exist, and there was tons of really bad architecture in the past as well. And, I'd like to believe that one day all of the best examples of Bauhaus and modernism are still standing and, standing alongside whatever futuristic styles of architecture we have. Yeah. Cities are kind of sometimes a greatest hits of architecture compilation album in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like talking about greatest hit, this building will also go into the greatest hits of this build in general. I love it. And the first really cinematic cool. was just amazing.
The vines there are a really cool touch.
Oh, they are clipping to the wall. I see. Yeah, I must fix that.
Yeah, maybe except for that.
OCD kicking in.
You also may have seen that also on the right side, I also made this kind of brick building, but I didn't include it because otherwise it would have been too long of a video. So I will do that in the next one, and it's not finished at all as well.
So okay. I guess it's my turn then again, right?
Yes, it's yours.
Oh god. Okay, let's see what we do. I have some ideas in mind. We'll work out.
Yep. Okay, so I guess we can just end the video here. There are a couple of cinematics left. But first of all, I want to thank you both to join me in this video.
Sure, no problem.
It was great.
And like the video if you did like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and see you in the next video, and that will be on Rudi's channel, of course. That's it for me. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.